Hey, I'm Dave Watkins, Watkins Films. Now, I'm going to try to, over the next few days, since we're getting really close to Thanksgiving, I'm going to try to do a few film reviews on movies that take place on or around the Thanksgiving holiday. I already did one on planes, trains, and automobiles, which is going pretty good. I got about 10 views so far, so I don't know. So we'll see how many this one gets. I think this one will get a little bit more views. We'll see. Now, this is what I consider to be the best Thanksgiving horror movie. Not that I've seen a lot of horror movies that take place on Thanksgiving, but I'm sure you've already guessed what it is. But we are going to talk about Thanksgiving. This is a 2023 slasher horror movie. Now, this is a steelbook too. Here's the little cover that comes on the outside, because once you take the plastic wrapper off, you just got this to go with. So this is a steelbook edition. It is a 4K UHD release. Now, this film was directed by Eli Roth. It is an extension of, in 2007, Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez directed two films, and they screened them together, and they called it Grindhouse. It had Planet Terror and Death Proof in the film. So, but in between segments, or they cut out parts of the films because they put it in a drive-through situation. I thought it was a pretty cool idea. It didn't go over as well with the audiences as they had hoped, but I thought the idea was pretty cool. So they had other filmmakers like Eli Roth direct these fake trailers for movies, and two of the other ones have previously been adapted. Machete, which stars Danny Trejo, and Hobo with a Shotgun, which stars Rutger Hauer. But this is the third one, and Eli Roth did a fake trailer for Thanksgiving during the Grindhouse films. So, but this one here stars Patrick Dempsey. Even though he's not necessarily the main character, he's not the protagonist, but he plays a cop in it who is tied to what's going on in the film. So, but let's talk a little bit about what is going on in the film. Now, it does remind me a lot of the Scream films, and that's a good thing because I think they're all pretty solid. But it's definitely not as good as the first Scream film, but it is better than some of its sequels. In my opinion. Some people might disagree with that. I really like the way that they kind of capture the Thanksgiving holiday in different parts of the film. They really have a decent budget for this movie, and they put it on screen pretty well. They have a Thanksgiving Day parade. They have a Thanksgiving festival earlier in the film, so they have a lot of those type of fall vibes. I guess Thanksgiving is, since it's in between Halloween and Christmas, you got both fall leaves leaving the trees, and then there's actually some snow in later parts of the film, like some kind of flurries of snow coming. So, but that happens in Thanksgiving, and in planes, trains, and automobiles, it's pretty hardcore snowing in that. Depending on what part of the country you live in, you could see both types of weather like you do in this film, or you could see one or the other. So like the Scream films, we have a new batch of teenagers here who are the intended victims of this slasher. But we're going to talk a little bit more in just a minute about what's causing this slasher to come after these certain people, which they figure out pretty quick. Now, the main character's name is Jessica. She's played by an actress, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, Nell Verlacki, maybe. But I've never seen her in anything else, but I think she has a very good screen presence here. She's very likable, and she does a good job in the film. Really, all the teenagers here are well cast and believable. They look like teenagers to me, but they don't look like too young of teenagers. So maybe I don't know how old they actually are, but I didn't look it up. But they look like realistic teenagers to me, and then most of them do their parts very well. Some of them are intentionally unlikable. Some of them are more likable than others. So the Jessica character, who is the protagonist, her father owns this big shopping store in town called Right Mart. Now, Right Mart is a big deal because he's made a lot of money off of it. He seems to be very rich. He's got a very big mansion and so forth. So on Black Friday here, Black Friday's gotten recently, it's gotten, where I live at anyway, it's gotten a little toned down, and it seems like they hardly do anything on Black Friday. But back when I was younger, people would lose their minds over Black Friday. Like they would camp outside of the store and wait for the store to open in the morning. And then they would bust in and start grabbing the stuff that's on sale, which is kind of similar what's going on here in this one, even though it takes place in present day time. So you got a bunch of people standing outside of Right Mart wanting to get in there. They're losing their minds wanting to get in the damn store, and there's only a couple of security guards. But Jessica and her friends show up there. I guess they want to go in and grab a few things or go into a party or something. But so they want to go in, and they go in when all these people are outside, and then they walk in, and then they start looking at the stuff out front. So everybody outside sees them, and they're just like losing their minds over it. Eventually, once the doors are open, they stampede into the place, and several people get killed like during the process, and nobody really seems to care. They just keep like they're in a frenzy. They're so into trying to grab like these free waffle irons and the other things that are on sale that they don't even notice that people are getting trampled by doors. It's a pretty chaotic scene. It's a pretty cool opening too. Maybe it's a little unrealistic, maybe, but if you look at videos from when people used to just lose their minds over getting these TVs back in the day, it's people weren't necessarily not noticing people getting killed, but they were like ridiculous back then. Now, one of the people who get killed is a character played by Gina Gerson. Now, it shows her earlier in the first film. Patrick Dempsey's sheriff character comes to her husband's house. Her husband works for the Right Mart, and his first scene of the film, he comes in and he sees her, and they're friends, and then and of course you got her husband. So those are. It kind of sets up a few things with her dying like that, and it may or may not be important to the identity of who the killer is. Now, I'm not going to reveal who the killer is, but I will say they do a terrific job of setting up several red herring type of suspects throughout the film, because you got the main character's ex-boyfriend who gets injured during the Black Friday thing. He's a good guy at the beginning, but he gets injured trying to help somebody. And then you got her new boyfriend, who is very suspect. So, and then you have the Gina Gerson's husband, who is also suspect. He's played by Ty Olison. Now, this film takes place in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and the main slasher villain icon in the film, he wears a John Carver mask. Now, John Carver was one of the original Pilgrims, who he was signed the Mayflower contract. But several people are wearing this really odd looking pilgrim mask, and you see it on the back cover of this still book. It's very cool looking. And then like the main guy who's doing the slashing wears a pilgrim hat as well. And it's a pretty cool costume, a very creepy, borderline iconic costume, which works really well within the film. And it reminds me of the Scream thing in a way, because the Scream costume is very iconic, and different people wear it in different films, even though it's a different killer, which could happen. Which they are going to make a sequel to this. They're currently making one, or they're supposed to be making one, but they're scheduled for next year. I guess we'll see what happens. So people who were involved with this disastrous Black Friday sale, people who were being like real assholes, start to die in very violent type of ways, and so it alerts the cops, and it alerts the main teenagers to it. Now in this film, of course, here we are in the year that we're in. So you have these technologies that they have to show in everything. You have to have cell phones. You have to have that kind of text message thing going on. You have to have social media stuff. It's hard to avoid in a horror movie like this, but they do treat it nicely, and it doesn't go overboard with it, and that's good, because sometimes in these newer horror films, they just kind of go overboard with the social media star thing. But there is a little bit of it in here, but it all works pretty nice in the film. So the main group of teenagers, they all get this mysterious text from the killer, and he sends them all a picture of this Thanksgiving table with places set for all of his intended victims. So that's kind of how it's set up. You got these teenagers as the intended victims. You got other people who were involved with the Thanksgiving Day debacle, who are getting killed off. And so the cops are very much aware of what's going on, and they're trying to come up with ways of stopping it. So this particular killer seems to be a step ahead of everybody else, but it makes for a very interesting movie. And like I say, I'm not going to reveal who the killer is, but it's not a huge shock, but it does make sense. It doesn't not make sense. Even in a way, it's, if you really think about it, if would they really be able to pull off what they do pull off? Probably not. But at the same time, it's not everybody. Not all of the intended victims get killed. A lot more people survive this film than you would expect, which is a good thing. Now, but the people who do get killed, the violence in this film is hardcore. It's a graphic violence, and which may not sit well with a lot of people, but I think they did a really good job with it myself. I was like, wow, like some of the kills were like, holy shit. It clearly could be edited or cut back if we had the old school censors who censored like Friday the 13th Part 7. This movie would be like no gore or violence whatsoever in it, but I think it works. It may take it, but it actually did really well in the theater. I'm sure the sequel's going to do good too. People are starting to get more into graphic violence and things of that nature. Now, it's clearly for fun. It's not, but some people might not be able to stomach it. It does get a little overboard. Let's take a quick peek at this steelbook, which they do have a standard release as well. I opted for the steelbook. And here I'm going to take out this code thing. And here is a letter. It's a letter. Who is this written to? Okay, it's from Eli Roth about the movie. That's pretty cool. I didn't see that before. We have a 4K and a Blu-ray of the film, and that's pretty much it with this release, which is cool. I mean, it's good that it has a steelbook, and I really like this turkey on the front cover with the axe. One character I didn't mention before is Jessica's dad, played by Rick Hoffman, who's hilarious in the film, but he has a new wife who's pretty young or pretty obnoxious and kind of making him do things. Now, one thing that he's having to do during the second year, it's like the main part of the story takes place a year after this Black Friday debacle on Thanksgiving again, but she wants him to open the store back up, and he's set on opening it back up for another Black Friday, and that's one thing that triggers the killer to start killing the victims. I guess he's probably been he's had a year to come up with this plan, and he sets it into motion. And he probably would have done it anyway, but it doesn't help that the guy's trying to open the store back up that caused 3 people to get killed by a bunch of idiots who want like a free waffle iron. All right, let's go ahead and rate the film. I rate on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. I'm going to give the movie a 4. I think they really delivered with this film. I like the actors. I think that, Patrick Dempsey is, even though he's not the main character, but I do like his part and the way that he plays it. And really, even all the supporting characters for the most part were very, very well cast. Eli Roth does a damn good job of directing this film, and he really makes it feel like it's Thanksgiving, but he also really delivers on the kills. Some people might think he went a little too far with some of it, but I think it works in the film, and it helps deliver a pretty damn satisfying slasher horror movie that looks big. It looks big on screen. That is close, if not as good as a lot of the Scream sequels. As far as this packaging and steelbook, I'm going to give it a 4 as well. I think it's fine. I didn't talk about the transfer any. This is a new movie. It was shot in 2022, but it came out in 2023. I think it looks terrific. It is, as you would expect with a newer movie. A lot of times when you get these older movies that are shot on film, when they brought the 4K, it's like watching a brand new movie, and it's like, wow, this movie looks terrific, and you see what you've been missing. But here, since it is a new movie, everything looks terrific, and I do like the way that it's shot, and I do like, in general, like the way that it feels, even like the color schemes and stuff to that nature give you that kind of autumn, kind of like moving into winter type of vibe, which it captures brilliantly throughout the film. Now, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think. And if you haven't done so already, if you'd go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm Dave Watkins. Thanks for watching.